Study this book. So at church, we were talking about 2 Samuel 6. And in this chapter, David has this heart, this desire to move the ark back into the main city because the ark is where God is dwells. And so it had been captured and he's trying to get it back. And so he gets 30,000 men together and decides we're going to move the ark. And so something happens and the ark almost falls, and this guy Uzzah puts out his hands to fix it, and God strikes him dead. And it says in verse 8, David was angry because the Lord's anger had blazed out against Uzzah. He named that place Perez Uzzah, which means outbreak against Uzzah. It is still called that today. So if you were to go back to the basics, that's not how God commanded for the ark to be moved. So there was a level, even though there might have been a heart to move the ark, there was a level of disobedience in not moving it the way that God had commanded it to be moved from the very beginning. And so the focus of this at church in specific was that we have lost, we've lost the awe of God. We've lost just the respect we're supposed to have for God. We've lost reverence for God. And we see it in today's society as well. And it was just so unique that we pull this scripture to work from, because we want to get back into awe and reverence of God, as we should always be anyway. But then I read further down through service, and then verse 9 says, David was now afraid of the Lord and asked him, how can I ever bring the ark of the Lord back into my care? And so I just thought it was so unique that our pastor is focusing on the lack of reverence that happens because we get so comfortable in our Christianity or in our walk with God. But I thought it was so unique that if you kept reading, it says like David was afraid of the Lord that day. And so I asked the question, like, had he not been? Like, had David grown so comfortable in his relationship with God? Were things finally going well? Was he finally, walking in the promise as king, that he had got so comfortable that he didn't reverence God anymore, that he didn't have a healthy fear of God any longer? And I mean, why else would the Bible specifically put that sentence there? And David was afraid of the Lord that day, unless there hadn't been that healthy fear of God recently or lately. And so I just want to charge all of us to reverence God as God. Every time we read the Bible, every time we share Jesus Christ, every time we're in a time of prayer, it is an opportunity to humble ourselves and reverence God as being God, and understanding that it is a deep, deep, intimate relationship that he desires with us. But also there's a deep, deep respect and love for God that should just draw us to our knees in humility before him. And so I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very unique, that the Bible specifically pointed out that day, as if maybe days prior, like I said, or maybe David had become too comfortable, that day David feared the Lord and asked, how can I ever bring the ark of the Lord back into my care? And then eventually they are able to. But you should just read that for yourself and see how that happens. Study this book.